Hello and welcome to the Me and My Dad podcast. What's the crack? Wee! Happy days. Studio audience. Still as strong as ever, We actually...
The studio audience will all become apart when you listen to this.
Right, we actually do have a studio audio.
Studio
Only a radio presenter, we do have a studio audience. Remember, give us a yo.
Here.
Good man.
Audience of one.
Do you not think he looks like one of the water bandits out of Home Alone?
Yeah, Harry or Marv. Brilliant. Oh, dear. So we do have a guest this week. Last week we were talking all about the ski trip, our experiences there, my new job. But we do have a guest this week. Mick, I'm going to let you do the pleasure because you recruited this talented individual.
Well, this talented individual and his...
Sidekick.
Sidekick. Is the sidekick your brother-in-law?
We're like Batman and Robin.
Is the sidekick your brother-in-law?
Brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law.
Aye.
Michael and Martin, who
The
are
Wet Bandits.
the Wet Bandits, indeed, who are both Martin, proprietor of the Speckled Hen,
That's correct.
which is just down the road here, and who is a renowned author.
He brought a book.
Martin has I'm going to say written. Martin has wrote 4 books.
But can you not say
3
written?
books.
I've
Sorry,
written a
that's
book, you
the
can't say
first
written.
of
That's the
3
first.
books.
That's the first of the 3 published, and there's a 4th one coming out shortly.
Get it out.
And this one's called, Martin, The Unbelievable Lightness of Beans.
Beans.
Right.
Right,
Do you
first of
wanna
all,
explain-
I play on that the book, The Unbelievable Lightness of Bean, effectively.
Of
Bean.
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 Right.
So, and this is Bean.
Good job there,
basically,
Mick. Class.
Bringing it down to sort of Belfast black humour, basically, rather
I
than
love
the very
Belfast
sophisticated
humour.
Cutter,
Right, so first of all, let's ask, where did you get the inspiration to write a book? Is this something you've always thought of
I
doing?
just
or?
always thought about it, and decided that at some point in time you better just get to it and put it down on paper effectively. And the easiest way of doing it is to do short stories rather than spend a lot of time trying to work out a whole plot and characters and everything else.
Yeah.
It's just what I tend to do is just I write the title of the story first of all, and then just try and write
And then work around the title.
Try and write
Yeah.
a story
So
around.
this
the
is
title,
based on
basically.
real people, real events, real things.
It's based on real people, but on a real time. It's 1971, 1972.
I know it well.
Effectively,
yeah,
tough times there were, and the stories are based in West Belfast, Beachmount.
Oh,
basically.
here, his bread and butter there,
And,
that big boy.
Here.
They just but a young fella growing up and the mates he has and his father and his mother and the case may be, just funny black humour stories.
Martin, I didn't actually know this, and I've been in and out of your bar so many times. I'm actually going to look forward to reading. I'm just looking at the different stories here. The first, there's an introduction.
Go.
And the first story is called The Dog's Bollocks.
Right, okay.
For me, that's me. I'm in 100%. Fucking brilliant.
Brilliant. So, The Dog's Bollocks, what's that? Come on, what do you do? You can't just splurt the title and not give us a wee...
Yeah. Well, no, I'd have to read it to you. In fact,
Go, come on, this is brilliant. This is like CBBS bedtime. It's only it's The Dog's Bollocks.
Well, you would know what's
It's not the Gruffalo, it's The Dog's Bollocks.
Well,
Give us a wee bit of The Dog's Bollocks.
grab that cup
From
there,
a literal
put
point
that
of view,
part
you know what I
thing,
mean?
Right, here's The
So I
Dog's
have to
Bollocks.
put my glasses here off so I can think.
Right, now, Michael, don't you be interrupting.
I'm just going to get the background of this.
It's just about the young fella basically, and he noticed that the dog always enjoys licking his bollocks. And he reckons...
Warn me, Martin! Fucking warn me!
Fucking plot twist, I did not expect that.
You see, I thought The Dog's Bollocks was... You know when you say in Belfast, fuck, that was A Dog's Bollocks?
No,
You know what I mean? I thought it was big eating a lovely meal.
I thought he was going to say the wee boy thought he was The Dog's Bollocks.
You know?
No. He observes that the dog enjoys licking his bollocks. So
The dog's bollocks or the boy's bollocks?
Oh, the dogs.
Oh, the dog's bollocks.
bollocks.
Oh, right. I thought there was a bit of something going on there.
So
It's like the old saying, why is a dog like its bollocks?
I know this.
Because it can.
and I think that's exactly that was it.
Right,
you
so
know?
we'll let you read a wee bit there, Marty.
Well, I'll just read the start here thing. It was a bright May day, mid-morning. It may have been the 15th, but that's neither here nor there. It was a Saturday. A week or so earlier, Arsenal had beaten Uncle Charlie's Liverpool 2-1 to win the 1971 FA Cup.
Charlie George.
Listen, Charlie George, that's right. George, I think. Did he score the
He scored the winner.
He scored the winner, didn't he? Aye, Charlie scored the winner. The street bathed in warm sunlight, not unusual for the time of year. A precursor to the endless days of sun and fun we all remember so well from our childhoods. "You're the dog's Ballix, Martin," announced my da as I handed him 2 pig's trotters and a bottle of scrumpy. "If I could lick you, I would." So,
Do you know what?
Jesus, that's
Really
really good.
Peter. Yeah. I know. I'm listening to that, and the first sentence that you read out there, you had a couple of things that I remember so well. Like I remember pig's feet. You were calling them trotters. Pig's feet. Sawyers.
Down
Sawyers. And my father, like my father was a labourer, working building side, grew to be a foreman, whatever. But you know, taking us down, and you thought you were getting, like, when you think of it now, like you were eating pig's feet. Right?
Oh, aye, that's right.
But you thought it was a dog's balls, literally.
Yeah. My wife Eileen tells a story of her always being so sent down to Fenton's to get the elder for her granny. You know, the white elder which came out of the
Are we talking like
pig's feet?
Fucking
Pig's trotters.
Fucking yolks, like,
See the fatty content that you got around it. You never tasted anything as saltier in your life. It was like pure salt. And tripe would have been another one.
See, tripe sounds minging.
It is.
Tripe sounds like it actually looks.
It is
stinking.
It is.
Yeah.
No,
And you don't see any of it now. Awful. You used to go by the butchers, like, and the window would be full, and it wouldn't be full of like sirloin steaks and fillet steaks and all that sort of stuff. It'd be tripe, it'd be elder and kidneys and all that sort of stuff and whatever. Sorry, lads, I left my phone on there. But
is that yours? No, here, far
I'll
away.
ring off in 2 seconds.
No, you're okay. No worries. So that's mad. Like that. Even that sounds stinking. Like.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
I don't know how lucky I was being brought up in the 90s. Like, Jesus Christ. See if he had said, "You'll never guess what's for dinner, son, a pig's foot." I'd have been like, "I'm leaving. I'm putting myself up for adoption." Jesus.
I was just listening to that there and I was going, God, that does take you back. There was another bit that caught me.
We used to go, like the Scrumpy cider, you used to go to the bar and you'd bring the flagon down with you.
Aye.
And the fellow would fill it for you from the barrel. And I remember as a kid working in my dad's bar, he owned a pub called the Unicorn in Castle Street, which became the front room or something, I think, at one stage or something like that, or Harry's bar or something at some stage after that. Yeah. But he used to bring in the kegs come in, firkins they called them. And you didn't have gas or anything. You tapped them. So you put a tap on the top of them, and then you put a tap with in the bottom of them to turn them on and off.
Put it that way.
Yeah, and in the middle, you used to keep a firkin. And at the end of the night, you'd put all the slops into the firkin. And this firkin would bubble away, and the guys used to come in, and in those days it wasn't double Guinness, it was single. So they come in, give us a pint of single and a shot, and you give them a pint of single, and then you top it with a drop of this bubbling from the firkin with a bubbling throat. I mean, the alcohol content in it must have been off the wall. You know,
poison, like
poison. You know, like with the poison, they loved it.
That's mad. So you've always been in that sort of industry of bars and.
Well, my father was in the hospitality business or pub business for like 50 years plus.
And am I right? He's in hotel business as well?
He owned the Royal Avenue Hotel. He was president for a couple of years of the Licensed Vintners in those days, as it was. Was
your father Martin too?
Huh?
Was your father Martin?
No, he's Charlie. He was Charlie.
Charlie.
And he was in about 50 years or so. He came to Belfast. I remember telling me he came to Belfast when he was about 14 or 15. No education. And he says the only jobs that were open to someone like him, coming to Catholic, coming up from the countryside, was basically sweeping the roads or working in a bar. And the really weird thing was, he says that the first bar he worked on was on the Falls Road. It was owned by a Protestant, and all the other workers were Protestants.
No way.
All the other barmen.
On the Falls?
On the Falls Road, he says. Now, this is going back, like, this is like 1935 or something, just before the war, whatever the case may be.
What bar was that? Can you remember?
I can't remember the name of it now. Just
how mad is that?
So it's not crazy altogether. Just it's the strengest thing, isn't it? You know,
brilliant, but like
things have changed. But when you think about the hardships, and we think we've had a tough time.
Oh, yeah.
He started off. I remember he left school just around 14, and what he used to do was he'd hire for sixpence. He'd hire a donkey with 2 creels on its back. The creels are these large weaved baskets. That's put on the donkey.
And that was the carry.
He'd walk it up the 5 Mile Mountain where the bog men were cutting turf. He'd fill the 2 creels for 6pence, and he'd walk it back down again. He'd sell it for 2 bob. The creel for a bob each.
You imagine asking someone of this generation to do that now? Like,
And he'd say, he said,
when?
you imagine asking me to do that now?
you asked him to brush the floor now and
He'd be like, "Hold on the fuck, I'm getting an Uber."
Hold on to check Google. See how to do it.
That's wild,
but he says that one of the proudest moments he ever had was he bought himself a pair of hobnail boots, brand new boots, shoes. And he used to walk when he'd go to mass on a Sunday morning. He'd go right to the very front, because as he walked down the chapel, his boots would go clip.
Oh, the noise.
Oh, the clip.
And everybody would know that he had.
Here's Charlie coming.
Here's Charlie coming
with the new boots
on him.
Brilliant.
But the other side, my mother, our faculties were, the head was as clear as a bell. She lived to over 100. But she used to have a picture on the wall in the house of the school when she was like 7 years of age. The picture was taken with all the kids there and the teacher, Derriaghy School. And she could nearly name every single child and where they went and what happened to them. But she used to say to us, look at that picture, look at that picture. I mean, what's about the picture? She says, you notice something? She says, half the children have no shoes on them. She says, and that picture was taken in November. And those children walked to school with no shoes.
No shoes.
This was like 1926 or whatever the case may be. 1920.
Martin, you're talking about that. And I've said this before, and people looked at me and went, I dead on. But I can remember 1966, I went to Holy Child School, and then moved about 1969 up to Lenadoon. So I was in Oliver Plunkett.
So where did you live before Lenadoon?
Riverdale.
Did you?
Yeah.
I never knew that. I thought you were always Lenadoon.
You from Riverdale
Riverdale
too?
line, number 2 in Riverdale Park East. They're just down from St Agnes is the second house.
Don't tell me, were you Park
We were
East as
Riverdale
well?
Park North.
There you go.
We were myself and ironically, our next door neighbour and my mum, who are both still alive, both the women, they picked houses out.
Sorry, can I just stop him there? That's a miracle for this podcast, for him to mention people who are alive.
Right.
Anyone he talks about, he always. I'm not even
only the
joking. Like
dead.
every story
I
he
know,
goes,
I know.
"Oh, such and such, he's dead now. God rest him."
But funny, Tommy Doherty and my dad, Frank Wilson, who are now both dead, saying you want me to be.
Now, Tommy Doherty, no, that's not Tommy
don't-
Doherty who married Evelyn Caldwell, is it?
No,
he worked in the
He
bar.
married Patsy Doherty.
Right.
Or she would have been Patsy. I can't remember her name, but Tommy Doherty would have been a relation of Kieran Doherty, right? The guy that ended up in jail and whatever. But Tommy,
Kieran Doherty, the hunger striker.
yes,
right, okay.
This would have been his uncle. Now we're way back. We're talking the 60s, but Mr. Doherty was a refuge collector, but one of the nicest man, great man. He died a few years ago, but we moved house. And they said they were moving house, and we all said bye-bye to one another. You know, the children and all. Only 6, 7 years of age. Our Mary, my sister would have been 9, so her equivalent, Patricia, would have been in around the same age, 8 or 9. Saying cheerio to one another. Fucking got to our new house. Who was our next door neighbours? I shit you not. This is honest to God. When I say next door neighbours, 3 up from us. We were the first 2 people to move into Lenadoon Avenue, Creaslock, as it was then, and ourselves and the Dohertys
moved up.
got a house. They actually were due to go to another place, but because the house got burned where they were going, they got 3 doors up for us. And my mother and Mrs. Doherty still live 3 doors apart, and they've been.
And they're both, well, obviously Nanny's still alive, but it's Miss
Granny's
Doherty's
90
still alive
and
as
Mrs.
well.
Doherty's 92.
That's brilliant.
Well, my aunt Mary, Uncle Paddy lived round in Riverdale North.
Yeah.
Just aren't you with a wee triangle? There was a wee triangle there.
yeah,
That's where they were. That's where they were. Right?
I have an aunt still down there, Bradley, Han Bradley.
Right.
They're still down the bottom one there that comes across from Ladybrook. But here's some memories. But you were saying there about, I can remember going to Holy Child School. Now, I'm going to get slightly improper here, but I'm going to tell you what they were called then, right? And both these people are related. I used to say, oh, I don't want to wear my plastics, right? And sorry about that, right? But that's what we called them as a kid. You didn't know then. But they were plastic sandals. They were plastic sandals, the cheapest thing that you could get in Crawford's shoe shop on the Honeststown Road. The cheapest thing you could get was plastic brown, green, black yellow, blue. They were all colours.
They were
plastic
plastic?
sandals. We were sent to school in them, and it was November, December.
Uh-huh.
Baltic, Baltic.
I'd say so.
Was yes, you had a pair of socks, but you were coming home.
I told you about shoes. My brother Plunkett, the ma sent him off to across the road, give him a few bob to go across the road to get some stuff for the tea. No sign of him. Half an hour later, she goes across the road and she finds him sitting. He's bought fire lighters and sticks, and he's sitting around with all his mates and lit the fire at the back of the wee row of shops there, where just opposite St Agnes's there, and they're sitting and having a fire and all the rest anyway. And she's giving him a good slapping anyway. But talking about shoes, so he had 2 pairs of shoes. You see, Sunday shoes, school shoes, and he didn't like them. He wanted another pair. You see, so we did.
Were these apparently the good shoes?
These were good shoes. You see. So he took one and he one of each shoe and he threw them in the fire. He burnt them. You see, but he just threw one left one in and one right one in. So she made him wear the 2 different shoes to school for about a month afterwards. And he got to go to school with like a brown one on him and a black one on him.
That's amazing.
Good class. That's class. But that was like that were your dinners. You had a dinner set down to you on a Monday. I don't like it. Well, so it was set down to you again the fucking Tuesday.
What was the Peggy used to say? Well, if you don't eat it, it'll eat you before you did it or something.
Let's talk about school. Where did you go to school?
The first school I went to was Aquinas Hall.
Right.
But they expelled me for kicking the nuns, kicking the Mother Superior.
As you do.
As you do.
Here, you're a brave man.
My sister was in the same school, and I saw her one day going, and I wanted to go to her. You know, when you're a child and things. And of course, your woman, the nun got a hold of me, and I hit her a couple of good
I can imagine.
kicks.
Mr. Marty,
Right?
I'd hit you with me plastic sandal.
And that was it. So they moved me on to, so I ended up in St. Anne's.
St. Anne's Primary?
St. Anne's Primary, aye.
That's where you go.
Oh, I'm a fellow acorn. Yeah, up the acorns, yeah.
Up the acorns
The old alma mater.
Was it the same?
He tried to burn the church down one day.
Forgive me, and I'm not calling you old, but was it the same like building and all? Like, without sounding offensive, but
that front bit was built just around the time we
because
arrived.
there was the old bit at the back, wasn't it?
There were Nissan huts. You know, up where the chapel is.
Yes,
that's the new chapel. Well, the old chapel was an abattoir.
Serious?
Used during the war for carving, cutting meat and all the rest.
I didn't know that. That's mad.
So it was an old laboratory. And then it had Nissan huts out of it.
Yeah.
And one of my mates burnt one of them down, who will remain nameless.
Oh, don't point at me. It wasn't me. Like.
he burnt one of them down.
Tried to burn the chapel down. Put a candle in the wee guy's hood.
We went to school.
We'll get to that.
We went to class in their thing. But I'll tell you a story. So they were building that new block and they had it all up, whatever the case may be. And they had a builder's, one of those like builder's huts. Used to have them on the wheels. Remember they used to deliver them, the wee workers' hut, and they delivered them on the wheels. They dragged them behind the tractor, and they had it parked in the car park. You see, so a mate of mine, Barry Copeland, now he's dead now. God rest him. And he decided.
We're sponsored by Healy Brothers, by the way. Just FYI.
So break a window in it. We'll see who could break a window in it. You see. So we're firing stones at it, and eventually smash, break one of the windows. Just that minute, round the corner comes Father Murphy in his wee yellow Volkswagen Beetle.
And Father Murphy.
And he jumped out of the car.
A yellow Volkswagen Beetle.
And the two of us ran off in different directions, you see. So I'm running one way, Barry runs the other way. Anyway, I scoot round the back of that building, and there's a set of concrete steps come down. There's a place underneath it. You see, as kids, we all head in there. So I jump in and I'm hiding down. And somebody comes in behind me, goes down. And I go, "Did he see you, Barry?" And I turn around, and it's Father Murphy.
Did you get bitten?
Oh, we got friggin' dragged out. Two altar boys. We were two altar boys. No.
They could hit you. And see if you went home and said,
Father Murphy,
you deserved
what happened to me?
To tell you, I was an altar boy, you see. And we were doing, weddings were great. You know,
did you? Sorry, before you go on, did you
balls.
actually hear the story in the news recently about the altar boy with no arms?
It's a joke.
Doesn't ring a bell, no. Sorry, that was definitely not worth stopping your story. Sorry.
Well, anyway, we did the wedding anyway, and there was a head altar boy at the time, Mark, and the fella, you know, the groom's father came in and handed him this note. You see. So we were in the sacristy and I seen what the note was. It was a £5, which was a fortune, absolute fortune. There was 3 of us. And he came along and he handed me 10 bob, you know, for doing the thing. You know, the
head altar boy.
Head altar boy handed me 10 bob.
Is that more than a fiver? Sorry.
No,
I don't get old money.
That's 50p.
He's not
That's
great at
50p. That's 50p.
You got ripped
in relative terms, that's 50p. It's 10 shillings or 10 bob, as we used to call it.
Jeepers.
Anyway, I said, no.
So
there's £1.50 quid in that for me at least, you know, anything, because you got a fiver. So he wouldn't hand it over. We started a fight in the sacristy. There was blood everywhere.
Were you arguing like, I fucking handed him the chalice? Like,
it went.
Meanwhile, the wedding photos were going.
No, they were going to say fisticuffs, and we blasted each other around that place. We wrecked the freaking place and smashed him. His nose was bleeding, and my nose was bleeding. And Father Kelly came in. Father Kelly had a glass eye. You didn't know. One eye was looking at you, one eye was looking for you. You know?
One's away to the shop, the other's away with the change.
You know?
The other's away with a £5.
Was he like the Cookie Monster? That's mad. Jesus.
So St. Anne's there. Who was that? Oh, it was Bob McCreevy. Bob McCreevy was the headmaster. You talk about like the things that go on that as you would do.
Mad.
Bob comes in just before we do the 11 plus. He's got these forms with him over his arm, and he goes round the class and he goes, "There's one for you because you're not getting the 11 plus, and there's one for you and you're not getting the 11 plus."
Serious?
Swear to God.
Oh, yeah.
And then he went to Nora Bradley. Nora, there you go. There's one for you because you're you're getting it.
So if he thought you've no chance,
No chance.
it'd have just been like, where you go.
No, forget about it. It wasn't no that you can just forget about
How
it.
mad is that?
Listen, I've told you about this before. See this world that we live in now. Political correctness.
Do you know how
it just did not exist?
Right, I got it.
There was no ADHD. He was just a stupid bastard. That's what fucking people call it.
Well, that's true, but
That's the way it was.
That was it.
here's how I remember doing my 11 plus. I had no interest in school whatsoever, and I'd be the first to admit it. I wasn't academic in the slightest. You could tell me that. Here's how he rang me to break the news of my 11 plus. I got a D, by the way. So, and it took me a few minutes to register. When he said on the phone, he went, "I got your 11 plus results." And I went, "Well, what's the damage? What did I get?" And he went, "Well, it's the first letter of your name." And I went, I shit you not, I said, "W?" Fucking Wilson. And he went, "D, you fucking dick." It was like, all right, okay. So that's how he broke the news to me about my 11 plus.
And then here, the best about it is, Martin, he went to school, obviously St. Anne's, and then on to La Salle.
Oh, so did I was in La Salle as well.
That's
So
when
was
my
I.
life
Yeah,
changed
there you go.
forever.
Spent my life in La Salle, and then went back and worked in it for
Did you?
16 years.
God.
But he was in La Salle.
Was Dickie
and
Denver there and all that?
Dickie Denver's been scamming me numerous
For
times.
God's sake.
Dickie's a good friend of mine.
You want to hear some of the... Is this Denver, some of the legendary...
And he'd a Hummer, a 1930s Hummer.
Was this
Oh,
was this the guy that took a shit attack at the Seagulls?
No, this was... No, Jesus, that's Danny Fulton.
Oh, right, okay.
Dickie Denver. Danny Fulton, the basketballer. Dickie Denver is the guy who... He came scamming us religiously for, I'm going to say, 16 years. And then his wife took ill.
Oh, that's this guy.
And he missed this 1 year. 1 year, he missed. We got to the top of a mountain the following year, and it was, say, our 20th anniversary or something to go on, and he'd been there. So he'd been there 18 years, missed one, or whatever, and we got to the top of the mountain, and we got a bit of Belfast crystal made, you know, commemorating Desi's 20th ski trip. And we stood at the top of the mountain. You know, the top of the wall, the sight's unbelievable, and there's this big pill in front of you. You've go down, and Desi stood there, and I says, "Desi, listen, on behalf of," there's about 20 of us, you know, you've been life and soul of the party for 18 years, and last year you weren't here, and you were missed, and the boys have got together and bought you this." And he says, he started to cry. He broke down, and he says, "I have to tell you, boys," he says, "last year, you know, my wife had a wee bit of a few problems, and I really missed coming here, and it broke my heart not being here, and I sat at home. And I know I was looking after my wife, but he got very emotional, and he was saying all this, and I waited till he finished, and I says, "Desi, listen, if it's any consolation to you, we had the best fucking time of our lives because you're a born bastard," and just headed off down the mountain. Everybody skied off. I had them all down. Everybody skied off. He actually wet himself laughing, and he came down, he says, "That's why I love this trip. You just cut one another to pieces." And that's the way we were.
Very true.
But Desi was technical drawn in school. That was his subject. TD. But a good guy. Still alive, living in Crosscar. Thank God. Healy's haven't got him yet.
Well, listen, let's talk about mad school stories. Actually, I'm sure you have a few from being. You went to LaSalle?
I went to LaSalle.
There'll probably be a few
See,
from in
before
there.
you go there, can I ask one question? You were saying the Avenue Hotel?
The Royal Avenue Hotel.
Royal Avenue Hotel. No, my memories are Royal Avenue. And you might remember this. Well, you will remember. What age are you?
Is this the clothes shop?
68.
Wait, you and I are. Well, you're 68. I'm 65. We're around
Is this
the
where you
same
went to get your new jeans?
well, if Emmanuel was selling them, that's where I bought. The Avenue Picture House was renowned. Renowned. It was the picture house in Belfast.
Is that where you went for a
overcoat? The overcoat brigade used to go to it. But and the guys used to stand outside. With the boards, the religious boards. You'll be damned. You'll be damned. You go in there. You go in there.
See,
sneaking in the side door. Sneaking in the side door. Oh, that was my, going past as a kid, and your mother and father were rushing you past it because there was not a crowd, because people snook in. It was all these freaking overcoats and wee hats going in the side door and what have you, and these guys preaching. Good. But I'm getting to the point of the story is Monty Python. The famous Life of Brian.
Life of Brian.
What a film, by the way. I love it.
Here. But now, videos had come out by then. Way back in the day. I mean, I was able to watch them video, but Monty Python was on in the picture house. And this guy, this... Jesus can save you. Jesus is the savior. And some guy who just come out of the film in the Monty Python book, he's the Messiah.
Very good.
Fucking laughing. People were laughing. Fucking Royal Avenue laughing. And your mom was arguing with him, but he was shouting the lines from the film. Blessed are the cheesemakers. And this guy was losing the will. That guy was getting angry at him. It was funny as hell. But that's the Avenue. Here's some memories about that street. Well, there is. I'm sure there was some characters.
Do you know that cinema's done full circle and it's back? It's like it's not the same, and there's no people shouting "Blessed are the cheesemakers." It's back in Castle Court.
It's high end, and you go there and get a bite to eat.
But it's proper bougie. Like you go and get chicken wings and all while you're.
That's like the craic in Bulgaria.
Oh Jesus, Applejacks.
The craic in Bulgaria, Applejacks was a fucking pole dancing club. And the next time,
but hold on.
Next time we went back, it was a craic. It's done full circle. When I look at the kids had created them.
Here's the funny situation about that. My first experience with Applejacks was when it was a pole dancing club. I went when it was first or second year in school. You went as a member of staff.
Yes.
Where were we?
Well, but we got a tip off. We had to go in and raid the place. We're all slipping up our back.
In Applejacks?
Applejacks. Now, I'm not telling you what was going on.
Just a bunch of first years thumbing out 50s. Just
the worst about it, we're getting all these kids out and see the adults that came with us. Now, they weren't teachers. We used to bring a few parents. Say, can I go on that trip with them? They were sliding down the back here. So
they were up with the backpack.
At the very back.
So let's talk about your school days. You must have some mad stories about attending LaSalle.
There were some like sad stories. By that stage,
characters and nicknames.
We'd moved to Finnegy, the Diamond Gardens.
Oh, you must have got the big issue delivered. I grew up in Grangeville Gardens.
There you go.
See, that's when life started to change.
Your brother was in Grangeville.
But we used to get the bus.
No pig's feet there.
Over across the railway bridge.
Oh, right.
BT9 +1.
The boys would throw stones at the bus coming out of Finnegy.
Who?
The lads in Finnegy. They would be throwing stones at the bus going in, and then we get the bus back from De La Salle to Finnegy, and the boys would throw stones at the bus. Just traders living in a Protestant area. Freaking mad. It was
crazy times.
Terrible. Good story with thing. We used to have double mouths with Mr. Gillespie. Pipe on the first floor. Every like Tuesday morning without fail.
That's what Mr. Gillespie used to fall asleep.
And you'd be in the class about 5-10 minutes, and all you hear is. And it was the Whippets coming up the hill, the British Army coming up the hill, and the wee Whippets, these wee four-wheeler, like tanks with Browning machine guns on the front.
Serious?
With a wee turret. And they'd come up, and there was a playground on the other side of the road, and they'd start driving around the playground. Well, in 30 seconds, our class emptied. And the boys came every Tuesday morning with stones and paint bombs in their bags. They hadn't got a book between them.
It was like the Life of Brian, go to stone him.
And I was Finnegy, so I'm standing up with my mate Mark and Barry, and we're standing with Gillespie, and all the boys are outside firing bricks and stones, and he lit the pipe and buck idiots, fucking buck idiots, just like and just puff away for half an hour, and then they'd all
the class would have come back in.
Grizz McKee and Overend and all the rest.
Brother Cornelius would have been, and brother Andrew. Vicious.
Were the brothers tough guys?
No,
like?
the worst was Stephen. Brother Stephen was the worst. He was a vicious bastard, excuse my language. He used to go around with hand and cassock all the time, never took it out, and he just draw this leather strap. It was about 14, 18 inches long, and he'd whack you across the back of the head or across the back of the...
Was others put their hand in their cassock and do something now, 14, 18 inches
well, brother
long,
Eugene, didn't brother Eugene get caught down to... Was he down the... Brother Eugene, he got thrown out because he was caught with two birds down in the friggin' Fort Bar or something like that.
Brother Eugene, remember him well. Remember him? Here, I'm going to say...
Hold on, he was caught with two birds, like two women?
Two women.
We used to say, I swear to God...
Have you seen me leather strap, girls?
I love the place, but we used to say there was a trampoline. So the house that lived in Glenola, there in the Glen Road, which still houses a lot of the De La Salle brothers, man.
Because we used to do retreats down to that house.
Francis is still up there. But we used to say it was a trampoline in the bottom garden. He used to fucking run down, bounce over the wall on the way down to the Glen one.
Yeah,
Well, there's so many of them got married and moved on, you know.
I remember being in Miss Levinson's class. She
Yep.
used to do her. And a gun battle started.
Mass Sweeney.
Mass. Oh, I hated Mass Sweeney.
Oh,
I
Irish.
hated that woman. She was from the Blasket Islands or somewhere like that.
She sounds hard
The
as nails.
Bastard Islands.
And she had hands on her like spades.
Oh, here.
And she'd hit you across the back of the head. I mean, you think.
What did I tell you? What's the
know,
gun?
Us going to your doesn't fuck me. Bang the fucking unbelievable. She was a bee, that woman.
Vicious.
But anyway, the gun battle's going on outside. The IRA are up in the old Christian Brothers, the secondary school, firing bullets. Bullets.
Pastor Granda working in Coolness.
How mad is this? So
down in the army who were working as a patrol.
you were obviously LaSalle Edenmore, yeah. And then the CBS up above. So they were firing down.
Firing down there. And we're
over your heads, basically.
We're all lying on the floor in Miss Levinson's class. She said, stay down, boys. And the only thing the boys could think about was looking up her skirt. She used to use these short leather skirts on her, you know, and we're all trying to position ourselves like the bullets are banging off the walls.
Do you pretend to get shot?
Fuck here. They're ready to get getting shot. What colours are fucking Jesus Christ?
That's the best thing. Oh, brilliant.
But those days were mental. Mental when you think about it. Because I remember Brother Cornelius, the only time in my life I ever went in the beak, and I used to be proud of this until I thought was Bloody Sunday. Obviously, it was a Sunday. Next day being a Monday was Michael's birthday, the 31st of January, right? So on the Monday, can you remember Crossing Passion? The Crossing Passion girls would have been like fucking Centrinians then, right? They claimed the rails.
See, that's where I went to school, not Cross Passion, but the LaSalle.
Yeah.
That turned into LaSalle.
Junior. Well, they locked the St. Genevieve's gate and the LaSalle gate to keep us in the school because the trouble about the road was wild after what we'd done, right? So locked the gate. The Cross Passion girls came down and claimed the fucking gate. Now these girls in green uniforms going, "Come out, you yellow bastards!" Banging the windows of school on you, fucking yellow bastards. Get out and protest. And we're all sitting in the classroom. So at lunchtime, there was a wee tuck shop. Remember the tuck shop in school? The tuck shop in school. You got a creamy Don and a packet of bakers. Creamy Don, a bakers, right? Or else you stole somebody's dinner ticket, right? So our school got that, and Brian Sands says to me, "Mum, we're going to big." I went in the peak. Me, Bran, and GK. See you next time. Never thought anything of it. We didn't do anything. Went in the peak and sat and watched Red and sat in the hill. And I saw a hill there. Watched flipping Red. And then the next day, back into school, fucking 10 o'clock morning. The door of the classroom saying, "Brother Andrew, Wilson, Kelly, Sands." Fucking we're put outside the principal's office. And I was going, fuck, what's that, right? And the three of us are looking at one there. And I don't know if you remember, Brother Cornelius' office, the seats, wooden seat, like that.
Yep.
2 church pews, like that there. Mahogany brown seat. The door opened. And Brother Cornelius went, "Wilson." And I went, "Yes." And he had a black doctor's phone, just like an old doctor's phone. on the thing. Thing about this is it rang, right? And he set me down the seat and he walked around the table and he slid the phone over to me and he went, "Will I ring your father or do you want to ring him?" And I says, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Don't be fucking, will I ring your father? You were on the beak yesterday." And I says, "On the Mitch," as he called it. And I went,
"Yeah, you're Mitching."
"I wasn't, bro, I was like, don't tell me lies." Now, Mrs. Doherty, who I mentioned earlier, was the only contact on our street with a phone. So she would have had to phone my mum,
Who would have then had
who
the...
then had to tell my daddy, who was working in Coolnessilla behind us, who would have come in and beat the shit out of me, right? So I went, "No, brother, you deal with it." Fucking worst words I ever said in my life. "No, brother, you deal with it." He got up. Remember the old Venetian blinds? He got up and he went, closed the blinds.
Yep.
The room darkened. And I swear to God, he got behind me, closed the last blinds, and hit me a big dig in the fucking side of the head, on the ear. My ear rang, and I hit the ground. He was kicking the shit out of me. See the two boys outside, GK and Sansi, they run. They fucking run away. He beat the shit out of me. And I mean, got me up then. And always remember him getting me up, sitting me back in the seat. I must have had a bit of blood or something, but cleaned me off. And he says, "No, you'll not do that again." And I says, no, bro, I won't. And don't tell your father.
No.
And I fucking didn't.
No, I didn't. Yeah.
And see, the day I did tell my father when I was much older, he says to me, "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me that? He shouldn't have fucking touched you. I'd have knocked your Ballix in, but he shouldn't have touched you."
I love that. Like,
You know, but that's the way it was.
It was more stressful going the beak than it was going to school.
Oh, here, absolutely.
You're dodging this and dodging that, and worrying about getting caught.
The neighbours. Somebody spot you.
Spotting and
Well, that
telling
was
you.
worse. See, if a neighbour had to tell your part,
yeah.
you were dead.
Yeah.
Just dead.
you wouldn't have went home then. You'd have waited.
Changed times. Now, for flip's sake, you can't say
I
boo to anybody.
But see, it's funny, even when I went to school, obviously it had well changed from then. Like, there was none of that. There was no capital punishment or no, like, I'm going to dig the head of you for taking on the beak. But I remember walking down the corridor one day and it was a teacher who is still actively working, so I'll not mention his name, booted me a big, massive boot on the hole. Like, I mean, it was sore, like. And all the other kids were like, "You can't do that, sir." And he went, "Yeah, I can, have his father's permission." He said to the teacher in question, "Say that he's not doing his coursework. You have my full blessing to hit him a kick up the arse." And I remember it was just so boom. And I went, "What the fuck?" And I turned around, it was the teacher, and he was like, "Your father gave me permission. He said if you're falling behind your coursework, the boot you'll behold. Where's your coursework?" I was like, "Fuck right, I'll have it tomorrow." Like, but it worked.
the way it
Like,
was,
I do think it worked. Like, you wouldn't have done it again, or you wouldn't, you know what I mean?
Not at all. Not at all. And you know, Martin, like, even giving back cheek.
Well, there was no chance.
just
Question
didn't.
Here's
Not a chance,
here's
not a
the other
chance.
end of that. I know it from working in a school, right? Now, I get it, like child protection. You wouldn't lay your hand on a child and all that, whatever.
No.
But you know what I hate? When a child does something wrong, oh, come here. You know, there's cushioning and, you know,
Yeah.
it's not their fault. They've got such and such. And like, yeah, no, but they need to know the difference between right and wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, it's always the same in society. Societies develop, whatever the case may be, the pendulum swings and it goes from one extreme, which our extreme where you get the crap beat out of you for no reason whatsoever, effectively, to the other.
To being
where
cuddled.
You can't say anything. Or
Yeah,
do
or you're
anything
not
at all.
allowed to
And
do that or say
there is a
that.
happy
Yeah.
medium.
Snowflakes.
But it sort of we sort of pass it and go to the other side and then come back again, and that's
but even, and this shows you how different it is now. Like when you were in work, remember that time? I couldn't believe you told me this story. You were making tea and you were going around people and you said, "What way to take your tea, black or white? What way to take your tea, black or white?"
yeah.
You said to the lady, "What way to take your tea, black or white?" And she went, "You can't say that. You're not allowed to
Can't
say black
say
or
it.
white.
It's with milk
or
or
without."
without.
And he said, "Make your own fucking tea." Rightly so.
actually said-
Like,
that was good.
I'm sorry, I don't live in their world.
how is that racist? Like, you know what I mean?
I know, no, it's
No, it's
Jesus.
people have got hung up on what you can and can't say. And Barbara would always say, she's a great saying. I think somebody in her class said to her one day, and these are upper six girls. These are girls that are, like she was talking about ethics and what have you, and these girls, this girl says here, "Miss, I take offence at what you said." And Barbara says, "Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I take offence at you taking offence." She went, "What?" She says, "I take an offence that you've taken an offence at me. So where are we now?
no, where we're going to go.
Where are we going to go with this?"
True.
She says, "I'm sorry if I offended you. I did not set out to offend you." And this was the most unoffensive thing, but it's just the wee girl was conditioned. And she sat with Barbara and talked about it, and then she went, "So what, man?" Yeah.
Well, that's what a lot of it's about. If they're conditioning the children from a very early age, effectively, that's what they're going to believe. And
Yeah.
we have a granddaughter, and I think in her school they have two cats, two girls who
know all about
identify as
it.
cats. Now, you know,
Cats like
kids are cats.
Yep.
You know, so I mean,
Yep.
what can you say? What can you say? I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it's a strange world. It's a strange world we live in. It's a strange world we
Yeah.
live in, and we're too old to get it. You know,
the teacher getting them in the class.
You know, yeah.
You see, we are. In Bulgaria and everyone away, there was a couple of the young girls that we sat and chatted to them and everything. And I was saying to them, look, see this world, I couldn't, I'd hate to be 17, 18 again. And now I'd love to. No, what I know now.
Well, if you know.
But I couldn't play the game that they play now. Martin, I just couldn't play that.
No.
It's that whole dating game and you don't know what to say, what not to say. It's just ridiculous now. It's
If you could
really
go back, you'd
ridiculous.
identify as that teacher's knickers.
I'm going to say something here, right?
Go on.
Because as you know, I'm sort of help with girls' football team, right? And I watch, there are some people who identify as young girls now who are playing against my child in football teams, and people have different views on it. I have my views on it, and I hope people respect my view on it, right? Because I just think in sport,
Genetics.
genetics, you're just built differently. You're stronger than this than you are, and it's unfair, I feel. But if I had to go back and remember, I played Irish League football. If I had to go back and I was 18 and identify as a girl and go and play for Arsenal, the way it is now, earn about 20 grand a week playing for Arsenal as a female, right? 5 years of that, go here. I'm back to being a boy again.
It's a bit more basic in that the whole idea of people who identify as female, males who identify as female, fair enough.
I don't mind. Yeah, exactly. It's up to them.
Yes.
Subjectively, that's grand. But you're undermining women and the female by allowing men into their sports. Even if the person thinks
vice versa,
well, how many women would want to play in a man's sport effectively? It just wouldn't.
Do you think
women have the good sense to know?
Do you think then they should have like a trans setup for that? Then, if you identify as a woman and you were a man, there should be a trans sort of league.
But somebody came up with the idea recently, and
he identifies as a Hoover now, Dyson Fury. Another shit joke.
Was gaining some traction with it, that they should have a non-gender Olympics, that the Olympics games and all these sports should now be non-gender, so that everybody could take part in all the sports together. And as the guy pointed out, he said, well, the chances are that a woman would never ever win a medal ever again, because if you have a male weightlifter, he's going to lift 200-300 pounds more than the best women.
But you're not allowed to say that.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to say it, and it's just.
But you are, because you're entitled to have an opinion.
Well, soon you won't be entitled to have an opinion.
Well,
that's
this is where I'm
we've
going.
seen new legislation in the south of Ireland, effectively, which is literally restricting people's thoughts. Never mind.
Yeah.
You have new legislation going through in Britain, effectively, which is going to allow access to all our personal data. The government to access all our personal data, and Apple have basically given into it and given them a back door to allow them to do that. So all of this is all changing. The world is, wherever we think about the world changing in the last 20, 30 years,
it's
the
gonna
world
be-
in the
I
next
blame
5
that.
to 5 years.
See that thing sitting there in front of you, phones,
Yeah.
that and the internet and social media, it's all just got out of hand. I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I always say to him, I'm so grateful to be the last generation to grow up without any of that.
Well, we all sound like old curmudgeons. The young ones will listen to us and think they're old curmudgeons,
probably,
they're dinosaurs, effectively. They don't understand. But if you see the changes that I always marvel at the changes that have taken place, over a period of time, like over 100 years, when you think of air travel and everything else, medicine and all the rest. But the changes are going to take place in the next 10 years are just going to put into the shade and the shadow.
And then you've
what has
that
happened in the last
AI
100 years.
coming up as well, artificial intelligence, which is
Absolutely.
scary.
I don't think we just don't realise how different the world's going to be.
It's frightening. I always said, and I maintain this, see in 20 or 30 years' time, the mental health's going to be through the roof. Because it's just, look, technology's great, and the fact that a child or whatever can't get lost if they've got a phone in their hand, is amazing.
It has
and
its
it's
pros
great.
and cons.
Of course, but it's the use of it now is just horrendous. It's been used for all. I mean, we're talking now, and I can guarantee you, if I was to mention, and it happened to me, I had this conversation with you before.
Big Bridget Jones knickers.
You know what I mean? You mentioned that.
That'll come up in his want to buy now.
It'll turn up. It'll turn up. It'll turn up.
It will.
I'll give you an example. We were away skiing. A group of us, and we went off, and there was about 20 of us, and we had 6 or 7 younger ones with us, and we're all sitting in the chalet basically, and we're having cups of coffee and eating buns, and all the kids are laughing. Oh, giggling, laughing again. What the hell's going on? They're not speaking. Nobody's saying anything. They're all laughing. They're all sending each other jokes in the room
Via phone.
via the phones. They're not telling each other the jokes, and you're going, This is crazy altogether.
Do you know what I want to do as a business venture? And this is maybe something you, as a a successful owner of an establishment, had maybe, I don't know, you could tell me if it's good or if I'm barking up their own tree with the way things are going. Create an environment where people leave their phones in a wee slot at the front door. Do you know, like you would go to a soft playing, kids put their shoes in a wee thing. Put your phone in your phone in the wee slot. Go in and talk to people.
Your business will be affected.
You know what I mean?
That's the only thing.
No free Wi-Fi, no nothing. Just come in, have a phone-free hour, a coffee, and a chat.
You'll probably find that the places doing it. I don't know how effective it would be. We notice, and we see it all the time. Michael and myself see it, and Niall, and see it. Families come in, mother, father, 3 kids, whoever the case may be, and at least 4 of them
iPads
are either on the kids are on the pad, like looking at the tablets, playing games, even like down to 2 and 3 years of age, propped up in front of them, or the daughter, she's texting her mates with the kids. Nobody's talking.
See, we have a rule in our family, and we would be a young family. Like I'm 32. I'm not saying I'm old or I'm against any of this stuff or whatever, but we have a rule. Our daughter's 2, right? We limit her time with TV and iPads and stuff like that, and it's just because the way people are going, the way kids are like, there's kids talking with American accents because they're watching YouTube every day, and we don't put her on social media because she hasn't grown up yet. Now she can make that decision when she's older. If she wants to have social media or she wants to do that, she can knock herself out. That's the way the world's going. But we're limiting that at the minute, and we've noticed a difference. See, if we put her to bed after a day of watching TV, she wakes during the night. She's in a foul mood. She's like grumpy.
Her brain's
and we've noticed the difference. See, when we engage and play with her and she builds Lego, she does different things, and she goes out with her childminder for the day, goes to like these wee play places, interacts, sleeps like that through the night. Yeah. No bother. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's scientifically proven or anything, that's just our take on it.
It's the brain. The brain needs that stimulation that's not from a bright screen. No, they need that stimulation, they need that play, the interaction. Common sense. I mean, we grew up playing in the street.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just you come home and you went out.
Street
your
lights.
ma would say your tea will be ready at 6 o'clock, and you were gone. At weekends, we used to come home and you go down to Smithfield and you'd buy yourself one of the old army bags. Like the stuff that they had down there. You buy it. The canvas sort of green, khaki green bags. And we go off camping,
up a Black Mountain.
Freaking all around the place. Right up the back of St. Anne's where Rathmore was. There used to be a forest and all there before they built a new chapel. And we'd go up there, effectively, and beans, and we'd have our wee cooker and all that.
Do you camp like a proper...
camp, and we're like 12 years of age.
It was an adventure. It was like Tom Sawyer.
We brought a mate of mine. We stopped in Scott's one time. We're all about 12 or 13. We stopped in Scott's and we got a fellow to go in and buy us 10 number 6 fags, you see. I mean, up St. Anne's, and we're all puffing, trying to cigarette up, spluttering and fucking. One of the boys, Vincent McCoffey, he wouldn't take the cigarette. So we tied him to a tree. And we held his nose and we put the fag in his mouth and we made him smoke. And
I had a mate that done that with a wire coat hanger.
He ended up
Lord had he smoked
like that.
Yeah, he ended up the only one that smoked. All the other 3 of us never smoked again, and he ended up smoking all his life.
I know.
See, I did. We all went through those phases when we were younger. Like I did smoke, but see if he'd have caught me, I'd have thought the same thing. He'll beat the shit out of me, So I never would have ever done it in front of him or anything like that there. Yeah. But thankfully I don't now. Or vape. I've been off the vape 6 weeks.
Good.
Haven't vaped.
Reading reports and that. And that's
absolutely. That's coming
just
down
done.
the road. That's the next one coming down because there's no way that you're taking chemicals into your body that creating those chemicals.
Popcorn lung. I read about that, and then I had a chest infection when I come back from Bulgaria, And even when I was out in Bulgaria, I threw one in the bin. I went, fuck it.
That was
I'm done.
Jägermeister long.
That was so. I stopped vaping and turned into an alcoholic.
We were just saying before you came in here, see on that ski trip, I'm not a big drinker. You know, you go down to your bar down there, Speckled Hen, and I'd have a few drinks. Paul can put a few away, like, you know, because obviously he's working all the time, and maybe like yourselves, when you're working in the bar and you have a night off, Paul would never go back to his, you know, he'd never go into town for a drink because it's like a busman's holiday. So we love going down there, and he loves going down, getting a beer and having a bit of
I'm
crack
laughing
with
back
it.
saying he's not a big drinker. I can imagine that donkey with 2 saddlebags carrying him and Barbara up the hill again, back home the Barfit.
Well, remind me to tell you a story about a donkey and 2 saddlebags. But you know, I wouldn't be a big drinker, but you go down there and it's nice and relaxing, and you can chill and unwind.
It's a great spot. Remember over COVID, whenever things opened up again, we were out in the beer garden and we met the fella from Celtic Football Club. What's his name?
Tommy Johnson.
Tommy Johnson.
Tommy Johnson.
Tommy
He came up
He
here.
arrived that time. That's right. We were sitting in the beer garden. It was great.
Yeah, the funny thing about that was the guys. It was that built the bonfire across in Milltown, and they were out the back drinking, and Tommy's beside us, and one of them thought, Ian Durant. He says, "There's Ian Durant. I'm going over for a photo." And he came over and took and says to Tommy, now Tommy's from Newcastle, and he's a bit of a, and he says to Tommy, "Can I get your phone, Ian Durant?" And Tommy went, "No problem, take a photo." We're all taking photos. And your guy sent it to his mates who were up building the bonfire, finishing off the bonfire. "Here, Ian Durant's in the Speckled Hen." And he sent the photo, and your man texted him back on, "You're a fucking dick, that's Tommy Johnson, plays for Celtic." And all his mates were sitting drinking, his wife and all started to slag him. Yeah, some Rangers fans here. And we had some banter with them guys that night, but a crack.
That was good.
But that's what I love about down there. Like, I went in one night and there was a guy sitting at the bar and from Milltown. And the next thing I went to the toilet and came back and there's a pint. He says, "The Paul, where'd that come from?" He says, he sits in the corner of the bar and he says, "I bought you that." And I went, "Dead on. You bet back." Never met the man my life before, and you sit and have, there's only 3 of us sitting having a drink and a bit of crack.
See, I love that. I think that's class.
I tell you, we
really
took the
is.
place over. It was 2014, Michael, wasn't it? Right there, and we opened it up, and it was about 2 years after I came in one day.
Was it always the Speckled Hen, by the way?
No,
Sorry,
no, it was the
something before.
Village Inn when we took it, but it was the Traveller's Rest before that.
Right,
It had
okay.
always been the Traveller's Rest for many
It's
a
an
year.
old establishment, isn't it? Like,
It's probably the second oldest in Northern Ireland. It's probably the 5th oldest in the whole of Ireland.
Serious?
second oldest in Northern Ireland?
Northern Ireland. Aye. After Grace Neils, I think Grace Neils is the oldest down there in Donegal or somewhere like that.
Is that right?
That's about 15, 20
I
years
didn't
older
know
than
that.
that. There.
But you can just, going past the Speckled Hen, and I remembered as the Travellers, going past it, you could just picture yourself in the 18th century. You're coming up that hill
You see,
in a cart.
You see, people think that road is the old post road from Dublin.
Yeah.
And there was 2 post roads, the Drumbo Road and that road, the Derriaghy Road, probably a different name in them days. They were the post roads. So the carriages all came along there, just up. So it's said that Daniel O'Connell, coming when he came to Belfast to make that famous speech where he was chased out of Belfast.
Whatever it was then, the
He
Speckled Hen.
stopped in the Speckled Hen, and that the glasses that he drank out of are in the building somewhere, that they were secreted away by the owners back in those days.
So they're hidden in.
They're hidden somewhere in the building.
Have you tried finding them? No.
Well, no, we haven't. It's just that this.
I suppose you have to take the building apart, probably to try and find it. Yeah.
The case may be. So that's an interesting. But it's
What a cool story! But like to have, as part of the history of the building. Like.
One of the thing, we have a very famous artist. I'm trying to remember his name. Basil Blackshaw. And Basil was he probably, after John Luke, he's probably Northern Ireland's most famous artist, effectively. And Basil, as a young man, drank in the pub. He enjoyed it. It's a funny thing, coincidence, whatever the case may be. Basil, as a young man, was a painter, and he lived in a street called Lavinia Street, in a wee bedsit in Lavinia Street, which is off the Armour Road. And my dad had a pub way back in I think the second pub he owned way back in the early 60s in Lavinia Street. And Basil used to come into him and he had no money.
Yeah.
And Basil, you give a pie and a pint of beer. And Basil would bring him paintings and give him paintings in lieu
For the bar?
of thing.
Brilliant.
And unfortunately, these paintings were in the Unicorn Bar when it got firebombed. Within years.
So
Worth a
lot of them are
fortune,
lost.
huh?
That thing. So all of them got burnt except for one, the Stooks of Corn. My brother snaffled it and took it away off to London with him anyway. He has it. But we're up at, we take over the Speckled Hen, wherever the case may be, and we find this old wooden sign stuck up on back wall, in terrible state, the case may be. It turns out it's the only carving that Basil Blackshaw ever did.
Is that right?
It's a double-sided sign of a traveller. And it's identical to a lot of his traveller pictures. The same cat and the wee scarf on him. And
See,
stick and all
I
this.
remember
And that's
that
in the
sign.
Speckled
Sign
Hen, by the way.
outside.
That's there.
We have it there, effectively, in
class.
the Speckled Hen. We did a bit of restoration on it, the case may be. And so there's it just coming back, like, from my dad's pub and Basil coming into him as a young man.
That's amazing.
But Basil did it as a gift to the owner. And I think it was one of the Johnsons. He did it because he fancied the daughter. At the time.
There's always a bird there
He
to
lived in a wee
motivate
cottage
these things.
up round
Like,
he lived in a wee cottage up around the corner, around here in Barnesfield somewhere at
it
one stage with his family.
That's
He was
brilliant.
a gas man. He used to turn up. He'd turn up to his shows. They put his art exhibition on. He'd turn up with a brown paper bag on his head and two eyes cut out of it. Because he didn't want the tax man seeing what he looked like.
he's done that with some discos over the years. He was DJing it.
Hey, no.
DJ Paper Bag. DJ Dodgy Tax.
But here you're talking about characters. And,
But sorry, I was going to tell you that. So 2 years after we bought the place, we came in, and you're in that community, whether the case be you're a stranger, you're coming in, whether the case. And 2 years afterwards, I remember walking into the bar, and Big Donald was at the bar with a fella called Willie Orr. And Willie Orr's like third or fourth generation Lambeg drum makers, his family.
Right.
Very famous. And Donald, of course, was big into the GAA. And Donald was trying to explain the rules of GAA to Willie.
I know that Donald you're talking
Donald
about.
and Willie were having a.
And Willie was trying to explain how you
That's
took a
like
goat skin.
the most
and
Irish
changed
name
it.
and the most Protestant name
and
you could probably
changed
get.
it and made a drum out of it. And I thought, we've cracked it. These two boys are sitting having this conversation.
That's brilliant, but I think that's amazing.
And but fundamentally, the problem with the pub industry, and certainly COVID accelerated, the pub industry was changing.
Yeah.
And it's definitely changing. And younger generations are not using it in the same way.
Not
for instance,
at all.
I was in Cafe Nero's last night over at Forest Side, 8 o'clock at night, met one of the boys, and there were 50 people in it. Yeah. You could hardly get a seat in the place. If you'd gone to pubs in the locality, you would hardly find anybody in it at all.
So years
Coffee
ago, people
shops.
met in pubs.
Coffee shops they've come back full circle because coffee shops
It's
were,
now the-
back in the 1700s, and that's where all the radicals met and all the newspapers were formed and the stock market was first set up in London in a coffee shop and all that sort of stuff effectively. And
Then
now
it
it's
moved to the pubs and then it's done full circle again.
Coffee was seen worse than drink. I mean, you drank alcohol because you couldn't drink the water. You drank beer and you drank gin because you couldn't drink the water because the water would poison you. But they didn't understand that by boiling the beer, they were actually killing all of the diseases in the beer, effectively, and of course the alcohol in the gins, effectively, killed all the virus, whatever the case may be in them. So coffee was seen. They were seen as dens of iniquity.
Yeah.
Coffee shops.
They
They think the government and the king and monarchs tried to close them all down.
It's unbelievable because I had a friend who was a director in Bombardier, and he was over in America. Fraser, the famous TV show Fraser, where it was set. I'm trying to remember the name, but big Bombardier.
Boston, was it? No. He's Chicago, was he? He was Chicago.
Wherever it was, where it was set, but he was offered by a big businessman over there the franchise for Starbucks for Ireland, and he turned it down because it was early 80s.
Yeah.
Coffee shops. And it was all drink. You went to the bars and he turned it down. Now he would be, you know what I mean?
It'd be worth a fortune.
Well, my brother, absolute brain box, first in his class in law. He was in law with Mary McAleese. They were an item at one time, the two of them, before Mary met her husband, her husband who worked for my dad. But he won the John F. Kennedy Fellowship Award and went to Harvard. And he was in Harvard for 2 years, did his master's degree, spent a couple of years working in America, came back again. And I remember this place, but he came back just before Christmas. We're sitting at the table having our Christmas dinner. And he said to me, Dad, this is the early 70s, he says, Dad, I'll tell you what you want to get. You want to go and get one of these franchises for a thing called McDonald's, he says. It's a license to print money. And my dad says, what would I want to be bothered with bloody old food for? Food's a nuisance. You don't want food around the bar.
Isn't that mad?
Isn't that crazy, you know? And it was 10, 15 years later that McDonald's opened the first one on O'Connell Street.
The first,
you know what we used to do?
That was where Bishop's Fish and Chips was, isn't it?
Down
That was the first
Street.
McDonald's.
O'Connell Street in Dublin.
Oh, well,
was the first
in Northern
McDonald's.
Ireland,
That's right.
the first McDonald's
We
was
used to
where
close the pub
Bishop's
up.
Fish and Chips was.
We'd close the pub up, the Unicorn, at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night because it was 10 o'clock in them hours. At 10:30, get in the car and drive to Dublin to get a McDonald's.
No way, did you? And here, you're going back before the motorway.
Oh,
like
before the motorway, you're going through Balbriggan and the whole works.
Jesus,
you
it
were
must
going
take
through everywhere.
5 hours for a McDonald's.
3 hour trip down to
Fucking
McDonald's.
5 hours for a Happy Meal.
when you went for a weekend,
Fucking the petrol
to Dublin.
alone. Like,
and if you were going out for a meal,
Aye.
I remember this thing, going for a weekend in Dublin, and when you went out for a meal, you went to McDonald's.
drove down, had your meal, drove home.
Unbelievable. But here, I was going to say earlier on, talking about Belfast characters, because I know times weren't on, what about, you know, the old Belfast characters that you would have seen in the bar, and I think you hit on something earlier. You were talking about, was it Silver McKee?
Oh, Silver McKee. He was a sort of bare knuckle street fighter, and there was another him and I think big Red O'Neill.
What, Silver McKee?
Silver McKee, his name was Silver McKee. His hair was like silver right from a young age. He was
Big hard man.
hard as
Yeah, well, you wouldn't have
nails.
fought him. Like,
Do you know what it's
Sean
written on his
O'Neill
tombstone?
was called Red O'Neill because he had bright red hair, you know. And also, you know, when he finished with you, he was usually plastered in your blood. You know, when they were tough men, and he used to bet
Vinegar
on
Bottle McNabb.
as well.
Vinegar Bottle McNabb. And it was a guy.
What?
What did I tell you?
Explain this.
I'm gonna
Vinegar
write
Bottle
Vinegar Bottle
McNabb.
These were the names people got. And there was a guy used to go up the windows. Out, you'll be sitting watching this Saturday night, watching Bruce Forsyth or whatever, and you look out the window. Right, Jerry, it's the name of the game, and I want to play the game with you. Good guys.
Good game.
Outside the windows.
Mickey, how did you spend
was-
your Fridays?
it was
Avoiding
like-
Vinegar
look at his
McNabb,
fingers.
watching Bruce Forsyth.
Flicking his fingers, flicking his freaking eyebrows, looking at you when he put him up. Look, you know, all this time. Right? These are the characters that are about the street.
Hold on, explain where did he get the name Vinegar McNabb from?
I don't
Vinegar,
know.
like,
See Silver McKee.
did he smell like vinegar? Or?
Silver McKee's buried in the city cemetery. I know what it says on his tombstone. Like, he was a real hard man.
tough
Everybody was afraid of him. Like, his tombstone says, "What the fuck are you looking at?"
Does it?
What does that? No, these were hard men. There was Vinegar Bottle.
Does it actually
McNabb.
not? But no.
So, now, Vinegar Bottle McNabb would have been sort of a character that people went, "Oh, here's wee Vinegar Bottle."
Was his
coming in."
surname fucking Sarson or something like that?
No.
Why is he called Vinegar
I
McNabb?
think he always smelt the freaking
Right, makes sense.
fish and
Vinegar.
chips or
Called
vinegar
it.
or whatever he had.
Called it.
He always, because people were.
Ah,
like,
you wouldn't have told him.
No. I don't know if it was piss or vinegar, but that just smell him, right? But Silver McKee and Buck Alec.
Buck Alec.
See Buck Alec? Now see Buck Alec, you're not going to believe this. Buck Alec had 2 pet lions. Lions.
Lions, kept them in the backyard.
I know, see, I'm not gullible. I believe that. Is that real? Or
No,
is
it's real. It's real. He
Two
used to
pet-
walk him in Sailortown. He lived in Sailortown, and he used to walk him through Sailortown. These 2 lions.
2 lions.
like
Bought them
fucking-
off a circus. Or it gives me
Bought
trouble.
them off a circus. See, you
Our
wouldn't believe me.
lions were all, near the end of their days. I think. No.
We had them on 2 leads, like 2 fucking Rottweilers.
and walked them.
Walk them
Fuck
through-
off. No, he didn't.
Did.
Who walks 2 lions? Who walks 1 lion?
Buck Alec.
Buck Alec did.
Buys a lion?
I'm telling you, Buck Alec walked
Aye,
2 lions.
aye.
And Silver McKee, and it used to be, I think it was Silver McKee and Buck Alec, and maybe I've got the name wrong, but if you'd have known they were fighting, or if a fight was arranged, there'd have been fucking...
Well, fucking fucking what's his name? Buck Alec would have won.
Over
Fucking
the
set the
lions.
lion on him.
No,
Fucking Simba and
these were
Mufasa.
men,
Where
were
you go?
men, Declan. There's no knives, no lands, no fucking anything brought to the
Bare
fucking...
knuckles.
It was bare knuckles. You know the film The Quiet Man?
Yeah.
Put him in the book. Put him in the book. Right? That's what it would have been like if you'd have known there was a fight happening. I remember my father going rest, and he was a White Rock road man, and there was some hard men about, but nobody would have tackled Silver McKee.
Silver McKee,
Everybody was frightened of Silver McKee.
Silver McKee.
Big
Buck
Torchy.
Alec.
Big Torchy, as we called him. Because
Fucking
bright red hair. He was Torchy.
Vinegar, what's his name? McNabb? Vinegar Bottle McNabb and his
But that's
two.
only some of the characters. You know, you mentioned one earlier. What was it? Came in and out of the bar.
There was wee bubbly Dan.
Bubbly Dan.
Wee bubbly Dan.
Was he just bubbly or?
He was a tiny wee fella. He had the most fantastic tenor voice, and we get a few wee drinks on him. He'd serenade everybody in the bars, you know. It was fantastic, you know. Just out of the blue, you know, he started
the
singing,
two lads in the corner, him going, Fucking hell, that's mad.
Imagine if he was shake.
Well, there's a
Britain's Got Talent to get the X. Go and get the two lads.
Fucking two
Feed the
lads
lads.
on you. Fuck's sake. That's
here,
mad.
Characters like
That's
characters.
absolutely mad. Well, here, boys, believe it or not, we've been talking for an hour and 10 minutes.
Right.
Time flies when you're
time is
having the
it?
crack. It's just mad. I don't even know. You lose concept. It's like a
I love
vortex.
Elvis.
Oh, that's we're grand. I have to go.
We've plenty of time anyway. But what we want to ask, what I want to ask is, at some point, the next time we're down the Speckled Hen, we should do a podcast from the Speckled Hen.
That'd be great. That'd be a good idea.
Would you be up for it?
Over the only if you guys want. Now we'll do it in the beer garden or inside. It'll be a bit of crack. We'll bring some guests. We'll have a few pints.
You must know a few characters down there.
I know
too.
we'll say to a few people. The case would be
Anybody will be welcome unless they've got two fucking lands that can do one. To be honest, imagine that.
Not too many of them about now.
No,
You'd be done for cruelty now.
No, exactly. Yeah. Here, before we take off and before we wrap up, tell us about the book again. Where can you get it? Actually, is it on sale or?
Yeah, it's on sale. You can go onto Kindle, Amazon. You can download it on the Kindle, or you can buy it in hard copy, basically.
Because I love that wee spiel at the start. It was brilliant.
There's, as I say, there's three, and I'm finishing off now. They're all a young fella called Martin Swallow. He's 13, 14. They're all set from 1971 through to sort of the end. It's big middle of 1973. So we have, we have various stories about, Bloody Sunday and stuff like that, and maybe being approached by the IRA to become, to sign up.
To sign up and different bits and bobs throughout the years.
Run about looking your sick note.
No, exactly. So it's just that there. And it says a fictional character set within a real world, effectively.
Yeah. Amazing. So you can download it in Kindles and ebooks and all that.
That's
place.
it. Yeah.
And can you buy
a series of short stories?
Each one's just a set of short stories over.
Can you
over a
buy
period of time.
physical copies?
You can buy those physical copies as well.
And where do you get those? Are they in any
you can just order them off.
Off Amazon or wherever.
Off Amazon, yeah.
Brilliant. And what do you search for? You search for the title of the book.
My name. Just if you search for my name.
Caldwell.
Martin Caldwell. There you go.
And
I'm just looking, Declan. I said earlier the title's like Jacob's step ladder. So obviously somebody's not being called that,
Yeah.
The Lord of His Fly. You can imagine what that one's about, you know what I mean? They're just class.
Some of the titles are brilliant, like
Quarter Pound of Mince and an Onion, and
The Dog's Bollocks.
The Good, the Bad.
As we found out at the start of the podcast.
The Good, the Bad, and the fucking Uglier. Oh, no, it's not fun, right? But I mean, you know what I mean? They're the sort of, the sort of stories that you get a laugh at, like,
So listen, folks, go buy the book, show some support. If you're ever about this area, call into the Speckled Hen as well. You'll be greeted with a friendly face.
Welcome. Everybody's welcome.
Friendly face is.
And I have to say, do great pints of Corona.
Pints of Corona?
Jesus.
That's a game changer.
I was in on Saturday night.
Corona.
I was in on Saturday night. See if you've seen the state of John and me when we got up here. You forget that a pint of Corona, when you have 4 of them, you've had 8 bottles. So we come up here and had more bottles. Rubbered.
Talking like a washing machine.
Oh, here. But they're great.
Oh dear. Well, listen, that wraps up this episode of Me and My Dad. Thank you very much for coming up, Marty. Really appreciate it. It's been great to see you.
No, it was great.
It's like Father Ted. Good luck with the book. Good luck with the book in all seriousness, but it's brilliant and fair play. And we're going to get down to the Speckled Hen. First pints on Mick.
Pardon?
Fucking Tam from Stillgame. Tight bastard.
Tam from Stillgame. No, I was just reading it. The author is a native of Belfast. Another lives. You've been a solicitor?
I'm a solicitor.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know this.
No, I'm a solicitor by profession.
Anyone fancies a pint and fancies getting some legal advice, drop into
It happens all the time.
Whatever you do, don't mix Martin up with Mickey, because you'll end up in jail. You take legal advice from Mickey, you're on a fucking head, and I'm
definitely in trouble.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, listen, folks, be sure to like, subscribe, come back. If you missed any of the previous episodes, you can go back, just flick up the list. There are loads to choose from. Our podcast in Bulgaria, the first ever podcast we've done, you can do all that. Go back, share with your mates, and you know the crack and you know the shite. Thank you very much for watching. If you watched the whole way, thank you. If you've listened, you can go and watch it back as well. But we want to say thank you very much to our guest, first and foremost, and more than anything, Marty. You're a gentleman, and thank you so much for coming on. In fact, studio audience, give him a cheer. There it is.
Real pleasure.
There it is. And we'll see you down the road. All the best.